Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here, former federal prosecutor, former Army JAG. I want to talk for just a few minutes about two questions that I get asked often on Twitter about Donald Trump's criminal responsibility or liability for the deaths that his conduct is causing as a result of the way he is mishandling the coronavirus epidemic. Those two questions that I get often are, one, why do I refer to it as involuntary manslaughter when Trump's conduct is clearly voluntary? That's one question. And then the second question is about causation. Because in order to hold somebody responsible for manslaughter, you have to prove that the person caused the death of another. Let me take those two things in order. First of all, why do I call it involuntary manslaughter? Different jurisdictions have different ways to refer to the different levels of homicide. You know, most jurisdictions have first-degree murder, second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter. Some have negligent homicide. But let's talk about manslaughter for a minute. A voluntary manslaughter is a killing that is a heat of passion killing. It's in the heat of the moment. So for example, the stereotypical scenario where somebody comes home, sees their partner in bed with another, and they reflexively, without thinking, take out a gun and shoot that person. That's a heat of passion killing, homicide, that is most accurately characterized as a manslaughter, because it's not murder. You didn't come home intending with premeditation and deliberation to kill another. It's heat of the moment. Another example of a heat of the moment manslaughter is what I'll call imperfect self-defense, or when you're being attacked, but you use too much force, deadly force, to repel the attack, and you didn't need to in the eyes of the law. Somebody's 10 feet away and they're coming at you with a stick. You probably don't get to pull out a gun and shoot them in self-defense because the law would say that's excessive force to repel the nature of the attack. That is also a voluntary manslaughter. Involuntary manslaughter is a whole nother legal animal. Involuntary manslaughter, it involves somebody who acts in a grossly negligent way, or they have a duty to act and they fail to act, and that failure is a product of gross negligence. Donald Trump satisfies that element in both of those ways. And then the second element is your grossly negligent conduct was reasonably likely to result in serious bodily injury or death to another. And then the third element is, and thereby you caused the death of another. Now, I have another YouTube video that goes into those three elements in more detail, and I'll try to link that to the end of this video if I think of it. But people ask about that third element, causation. Is Donald Trump really causing the deaths? The answer is yes in the eyes of the law, and here's why. Causation simply means that your conduct, your grossly negligent conduct, was a substantial factor that led to the death of another. So it doesn't mean that you killed somebody by bullet, by bat, by knife, or by ligature. It simply means your conduct was a substantial factor in bringing about the death of another. Let me use a real-world example. We had a case in Washington, a murder case, where an assailant was chasing after somebody trying to attack that person. The victim sprinted out into traffic to try to evade his attacker and got struck by a car and died. Now, the attacker didn't literally cause the death because the attacker wasn't driving the car, but the attacker's conduct was a substantial factor in bringing about the death. That is why that is a involuntary manslaughter under that hypothetical that I just went through. And let me tell you folks, Donald Trump is, in a very real sense, chasing us all out. Not into traffic, but into the danger zone. Exposing people prematurely against medical advice, against public health experts' advice, and putting them in harm's way, putting them in the way of this virus, causing them to suffer serious bodily injury and, yes, even death. That's why what Donald Trump is doing is involuntary manslaughter. I want to say one other thing before I sign off, and that is I want to give a shout out to the many Team Justice members who have opted to follow me on Twitter or have subscribed to my YouTube channel now. I can't tell you how gratified I am that you all are finding value in what it is I'm trying to say about the crimes, the corruption, the abuses of the Trump administration. I retired from the federal government after 30 years on June 1st of 2018. Hadn't been on social media before that. I'm on it now, and I'm learning day by day. And something like 270,000 of you have opted to follow me on Twitter. I can't tell you how grateful I am. I can't tell you how heartening it is to be able to have this conversation with you all about what's going on and hopefully break it down into layman's terms that we can all understand and use as we're navigating this impossibly difficult world that is the corrupt Trump administration. So, huge shout out to Team Justice. I thank you all very much. Please stay safe. As always, please stay coronavirus free. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon.